Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time I want to talk about Fire Emblem Engage and whether this game is going to go down as a better game than Fire Emblem Three Houses. So we've been getting a whole bunch of previews for Fire Emblem Engage as of late, and there's a lot of promising things that are being said about Engage, and I personally am very excited about it. As we approach its release on January 20th, I'm gaining more and more excitement and hype for this game. There's so many great things we're hearing about it. I am definitely ready for this. But what I am curious about though is how this game is going to compare to Three Houses. Now when we go back to 2019, Fire Emblem Three Houses, for me personally at the time, I would say was my favorite game of the year. There was a number of quality games that came out that year, but Three Houses stood above all of them in my opinion. I was totally enthralled into the story. I really loved the gambit mechanic, seeing armies attack each other, seeing the typical 2D style Fire Emblem map transition seamlessly into 3D, exploring Garrick Mach in that openish style. All of these things I really enjoyed. The story totally had me drawn in and I fell in love with the characters. Three Houses was a pretty great game for me personally. But then we take a look at Engage. And with Engage, there are some things that they're doing differently. They're going for a more anime-esque, more colorful, vibrant art style, something that's perhaps a bit more reminiscent of previous Fire Emblem games. And for some people that could be a turnoff, but I would say overall, visually the game is looking a lot better. A couple weeks ago, we did a graphics comparison comparing what we had seen so far for Engage compared to similar scenes from Three Houses, and overall, I felt, and still do, that Engage looks better. The combat sequences are a lot flashier, a lot more vibrant. The UI looks a lot sharper. We're hearing from previews that the performance is very rock solid. So while there are some things lost like the realism and the gambits where we see these armies out in the field, what we're gaining is something that's a lot cleaner, a lot sharper, more vibrant, more exciting combat sequences, and some new things that we've discovered recently, or at least I discovered recently, is that when you're playing the game, after you do a battle, it's not just a Somniel, the replacement for the Garrick Mach that you get to explore in 3D, but also each entire battle map. And when I say that, I don't just mean the seamless transition from the 2D typical Fire Emblem map to the 3D during battles, but after the battle you can literally walk around the entire map and explore this world. So at first, when it came to the marketing for Engage, I was thinking, okay, they're making things more concise. The Somniel looks smaller than Garrick Mach. It's not going to be as widespread. And from one perspective, that may be a little disappointing, but by condensing it down, it's probably going to be more of a concise, polished experience. And there's just not going to be that much to explore in 3D. But in actuality, yes, the Somniel seems like a more concise, polished version of Garrick Mach, and we'll get to that in a moment. But there is actually far more exploration in Engage compared to Three Houses. I feel this is exemplary of the total overall direction for Engage, and that's an overall evolution of the series. While there are things we're seeing that are pulling back from previous Fire Emblem games, they're still moving forward. Another example, the combat triangle, they're bringing that back to the forefront of the gameplay, but they're also expanding on it as well with the break mechanic, which definitely is changing the dynamic of how you're going to go about playing these games. It seems to be suggesting a more aggressive pursuit in combat, where you need to be the one that's taking advantage of the weapon triangle and causing a break, that way you can avoid a counterattack. So on one hand, it could speed up combat and make it more interesting and fast-paced, but on the other, it is going to require that you think a little bit more about your positioning, because you could find yourself getting punished quite a bit. But now let's go back to talking about comparing the Somniel, the hub area that we get to explore repeatedly throughout Engage, in contrast to Garrick Mach from Three Houses. So with Three Houses, back in 2019 when we got the game and I saw Garrick Mach, I actually thought it was very exciting, being able to explore the world of Fire Emblem in 3D, move about in this Hogwarts-like environment, this cool castle-like school area, having the different side tasks like fishing and eating meals and having tea with your students and colleagues, building up those relationships. I spent a lot of time doing that, and I did enjoy it very much. But over the last few years, with different discussions I've had with people about the game, Not everyone was in love with the monastery and the school life that you had to do to build up your forces. For some people, it was something that was a little distracting and didn't perfectly blend to the typical Fire Emblem gameplay. And in truth, I didn't play through every single storyline in Three Houses, so perhaps there's something to this idea. Even though I enjoyed my initial playthrough of the game, I didn't do every single story, and in part it's because going through everything repeatedly through that entire student life is a little much. Now, you do have the option to skip a lot of the monastery things in Three Houses, but there are advantages to building up relationships and crafting your characters how you want them to be. So how are they doing things differently in Somniel? Well, from what we're seeing, the world is a bit more dense and concise, so from a visual perspective and a performance perspective, it's looking and playing a lot nicer. But also apparently a lot of the mini-games, which look pretty fun from what I'm seeing, more fun than from what I've seen of Three Houses, the benefits we get from them impact the immediate future as opposed to the long-term future. So there's still a reason to go to Somniel, explore it, play around, hang out with the different characters, and enjoy the myriad of different fun mini-games, and they will benefit you in the short-term battles to come. But they aren't required either. You can skip them and you can just continue to dig deeper and deeper into the campaign of the game, focus on the combat, the story, and the characters, and forget about everything else. You will have more of that option, and you're not going to feel like you're missing out by skipping the Somniel the same way people felt like they were missing out when they're skipping out on the teaching stuff in Three Houses. And before I close things out here, I want to talk about another detail, and that's the engage mechanic with the rings. Bringing back past heroes from different Fire Emblem games is something that I think is a great idea, because not everyone's played every single Fire Emblem, so it's an opportunity to learn about the different important Fire Emblem characters from the past, but also if you do know of them, and a lot of them we've seen in Smash Brothers, there's a certain level of excitement there. We're going to be able to interact with these characters and learn more about them, and that's fun, but also the mechanics centered around engaging and the different combinations we're seeing, that's also exciting. It's flashy, it's cool, but we're also hearing about a lot more customization options. So when I think about everything we're hearing and seeing about Engage, I find myself very excited for it. Visually, the game is colorful and vibrant and sharp. We're actually going to be able to explore a lot more in Engage compared to Three Houses. They're bringing back a lot of elements from previous Fire Emblem games that will likely please the fanbase, including the weapon triangle and the different heroes. The combat looks a lot sharper, the animations look beautiful, the way they seem to interact with the world seems even sharper and better. The way they're handling the Somniel seems to be a better balance for Fire Emblem gameplay compared to Garrick Mach in Three Houses. And also, the way it seems like we're going to be able to interact with the different characters in a more direct, linear fashion, seemingly, is going to afford us the opportunity to experience pretty much everything the game has to offer in one go-around. And that may appeal to a larger audience. For me, I haven't played the game yet, but I'm seeing a lot of promising signs for Engage, and it does look like they are moving ahead with the series. They are pushing forward, and they are improving upon a lot of things we saw from Three Houses, and that has me very excited for this game, and I can't wait till January 20th, because I'm thinking this is going to be a really good one. So, if you've been sleeping on Fire Emblem Engage, maybe don't. Check it out. It's looking pretty good. But those are my thoughts on the matter. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.